Hey guys, so a friend of mine wanted to convert the power supply jack on this pedal. It's the Procorat distortion pedal to a standard 2.1 mm type jack, which I did and had to break my head a bit to figure it all out. And a multimeter definitely helps a lot in figuring out how all of this was wired up and to check the connectivity. So now this is, as you all know, is a legendary distortion pedal based on the LM308 op amp. Not one of the greatest op amps to use, but then this pedal, it sounds brilliant, and the LM308 suits this pedal really well. Even at lower volumes, it has a certain character that is kind of hard to explain. Really loving it. I mean, this is the first time that I ever got to try this pedal and loved it. So what I did on this one was to, as I mentioned, change the power supply jack to something standard. I used a 2.1 mm barrel type jack. I would like to start with the negatives on this particular pedal. So let's look at the DC jack itself, which is what this pedal came to me for in the first place. So this pedal comes with this kind of a DC jack, which is a 3.5 mm jack, which uses a DC cable that looks something like this. Yeah, so it's not a DC jack really. This one is a regular headphone jack, but this is how it works. And it's quite a task to find something like this. You need to have a dedicated jack to power it up and all of that. And I wanted to install a regular 2.1 mm barrel type jack, which is center negative 9-volt DC power supply. Which is basically a world standard for powering effects pedals. So I had to modify this pedal, and how did I wire it up is something that I would be covering in another video. So that's one of the negatives. So this jack, it's a non-standard jack. And then coming to the other negative, which is the rubber feet. So this thing comes with rubber feet like a wah pedal does, like a Dunlop Crybaby or something, and it looks something like this. It has 4 of them on either side, so it's kind of difficult to mount it onto a pedal board using Velcro. So you might actually want to completely dump this rubber feet and directly use this screw onto it, and then there's very little space to hook up the Velcro on both sides. But I'm sure it can be done. It's not difficult, but it's just that it's a bit inconvenient. And now the other negative. This is the thumb screw that holds the battery case in place. But then if you notice, I don't know if you can notice, but there's no threading on it. There's nothing that you can grip with your hand on, and it is an Allen key type nut. You need to tighten it just enough so that it holds the case in place. If you do it too much, you will need an Allen key to unscrew this. So that's another little negative. But then if you power it using a power supply, it's fine. So basically both the power bits are not very easy to access, is what I mean. And then it comes with this is all metal, this top case, and then this is plastic, held by a double-sided tape, as you can see in between, sandwiched. And let me remove it. Okay, now the other negative is the most important one. So if you look at the ports are mounted on the PCB, all 3 of them. And if you look at the 3BDD switch, that is mounted onto the PCB too. And if you look at this angle, okay, can you see the angle now? It's not straight. It's something like this. It's a little tilted. That's my worry. And why is that a worry? Usually in other pedals, the jacks, input and output jacks, which are in this case, it's a good thing that these are mounted onto the chassis. These are mounted on the PCB as well, on the sides, right? So there's support from the 3PDD, from the two jacks on both sides, and the pots. So now, this nut tends to loosen up a little bit. You would possibly end up stomping it, and this is a mechanical switch, it's not a soft switch. You hear that, right? So this, all the pressure that you can put, if this is loose, is going to be on the PCB. So imagine, if this PCB would push up like this, and if it happens constantly, this thing can crack, because there's pots on which there's no stress that you would be putting with your foot, but on this switch you would, and can really crack it up. So this is something that one needs to keep looking at, keep checking every now and then to see that this nut is in place. So that's another stress point. That being said, the good bits are, it sounds brilliant. The other good thing is that these two input and output jacks are chassis mounted. This is what I installed after replacing this. I installed the standard one, and there was a bit of wiring that I had to do. I will explain how I wired it all up in another video. To sum it up, it's a great pedal, inconvenient power supply jack. Pedal board mounting requires some effort, and then the 3PDT switch is a bit of a worry. Keep checking for those loose nuts, but it sounds brilliant. Hope you find this review useful. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.